So agriculture and food is one of the 9 groups. Can I ask in the room, if you put your hand up, is anybody a farmer in the room? 2, great. Okay, we had a lot of interesting discussion because so few of the people who were involved in this actually understood the agriculture dimension. 2 farmers in the room is about the right proportion. 1% of people in the country work in agriculture, but how many people ate today? Right? Everybody. I think probably most of you. So we've got a lot, everybody depends on food, but very few people are actually involved in the agriculture dimension. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture has already looked at this and started thinking about the issues associated with more frequent extreme weather events, which are going to be storms and droughts, both of which can affect the farming community. There's going to be increased requirement for irrigation water, almost certainly in Ontario. There's going to be increased plant damage from invasive species and existing weeds and insects, which are going to start behaving differently because of the change in the climate. And we're going to see more movement or continued movement of human and livestock diseases into Canada from lower latitudes as the climate changes. And lower livestock productivity potentially as the temperature goes up. Cows don't like hot weather. They produce less milk, for example, due to thermal stress. So there's a number of threats that the agricultural community face. But for most of us, the discussion is about food and where does our food come from. Some time ago, a separate activity in Hamilton looked at what could we grow in the city of Hamilton, that's the greater city, including all of the agricultural community, could we feed ourselves? And research was done by some U of T grads who looked at that, and they found that we could feed about 50% of our food demand if you look at the greater city of Hamilton. We depend on imports to a great degree. So when we start talking about agriculture and food in Hamilton, it means really we are part of the global problem and need to be part of the global solution. If any of you are watching what's happening in California right now, the drought situation, their 4th year of severe drought, a lot of our food in Canada and in Ontario still comes from places like California. So we cannot just look at Hamilton, we have to look nationally and internationally at how do we become, as Sally said, resilient and sustainable. We have to get ready for some of that and be able to feed ourselves more. So how many of you have a garden and produce vegetables? How many of you can feed yourself for a year with what you produce in your garden? One guy. I didn't see a single hand go up in the room. You may not be able to see. So we can't feed ourselves at this point in time, but we can feed more of ourselves. So in looking at our task force, we came up with a vision, which was what we would like to see, so we'll have a sustainable food and agriculture system that minimizes greenhouse gases while ensuring community food security. It's a big, grand goal. We think that we've got a long way to go. We looked at 4 main areas we thought that required action here. Some you can really help with. For example, farmland preservation. There needs to be a strong push to maintain the green belt, to prevent more urban sprawl, and that's a political action. And all of you have got votes, and part of what we have to do is to protect our farmland. Southern Ontario's got a lot of farmland under threat. We've already paved over a large portion of it. So that was one of our very major actions, was to continue to push increased public awareness on the relationship between urban sprawl, urban intensification, which is the solution to urban sprawl, perhaps, and the need to protect our farmland. The second one was to talk about sustainable agricultural practices. Our farmers, we had farmers come in and talk to us. They are the stewards of our land, if you think about it. They're the ones that are protecting the water by the way they farm, and so they told us that they respond to market pressures. They have to, because they're businesses. Farmers are businesses. So the way we act will depend upon what the farmers do. So, for example, a lot of what we produce in Hamilton City is actually exported because it's feed grain, and even worse still, it's ethanol feedstock. So if we support producing ethanol, alternative fuels using grain, we're actually reducing our food production capacity. We want to, so our main goal on agriculture was to see that the provincial and municipal strategies and actions, there's something called the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Action Plan and a Hamilton Food Strategy under development, that both of them integrate climate change, adaptation and mitigation goals and actions in them. If one reads the current Food and Farming Action Plan that the provincial government has, there's not much mention of climate change in there. So we need to see that all levels of government integrate into what they're doing impacts of climate change, and at the municipal level, obviously, it's within Hamilton. The second major thrust, and it's one which most of us are much more thinking about with respect to food, is to support local agriculture, local food producers, and urban agriculture. So there's lots of things we can do which will support that. Purchasing food at local food co-ops and farmers markets, purchasing locally grown food even in the supermarkets, participating and promoting community-supported agriculture, setting targets for municipalities, universities, schools and hospitals to buy local food as part of their food programs. Some municipalities in Ontario have set gradually increasing targets to require the municipalities to do that. We haven't yet done that in Hamilton. Supporting urban agriculture, Hamilton is taking steps to do that. We've got an urban agriculture project underway already. Adam Watson's in the room, I can see somewhere he's leading that. The next major area we looked at, because we're time limited, was food waste. And there's some startling statistics around on food waste. One of them is that 50% of food that is wasted in the home. In other words, we buy too much stuff because of bulk incentives and things like that. We put it in the fridge and then we throw it away a few weeks later. So there's a big opportunity to save or to reduce waste by buying much more sensibly. I think the more people are connected to food by growing it and buying from farmers markets, the more they'll understand the value of food and not waste so much. Lots of programs associated with food waste which could be introduced. And I presume that's the timer. The last one was the same topic I think that everybody's talked about, is education and awareness of the food system. The more you understand about where your food comes from, the more you're likely to want to support the other activities of farmers, farming, and food waste reduction. And of course, we could go on at length